Mars squares Neptune on Wednesday, October 12th, making us face our illusions and delusions. Let's take a closer look and break it down. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive astrology. If you're new here, please subscribe, leave me a like or a comment. I appreciate that. And if you'd like to work with me, there are links down below. I am currently running a Libra season special, meaning all Libras get 20% off natal and relationship readings. You need to use a code. There's information down there. Before we dive in, I took advantage of Venus in Libra and Mercury being exalted in Virgo and created some candles. Here is the Venus in Libra one. I don't know if it can focus on this. Hopefully it can, or my face. I don't know what. Anyways, it's pink. It has, it smells like a rose. It has copper foil in it because Venus is connected to copper, and it smells lovely. It was created with Venus on the ascendant, with Moon in the 5th house, highlighting romance, joy, creativity. So you can burn it, light it up when you'd like more inspiration or when you're having a romantic guest over. And Mercury candle is in an amber jar, and it has the power to focus you and kind of move your career forward. There are also oils for both of these. They have gemstones in them. Venusian one has amethyst, classically connected with Venus, and mercurial oil has peridot. And you know, they're a blend of oils that are connected with the planet. So Venusian oil smells like a rose, and it has rose, sandalwood, and bergamot in it, and mercurial is more lemony. There's like lemongrass, clary sage, and something else. Oh, lavender. Lavender. Anyways, thank you for listening. It's an important project to me, working with like planets at their most powerful times to save them is something that got me super, like, you know, when I was studying it, I remember being super, super excited about it because that's taking action versus letting astrology happen around us. Here we're actually taking action. Okay, so let's talk about Mars squaring Neptune and why this is important. It's important because Mars is about to go retrograde, and it's going retrograde, it's slowing down and stationing really close to a square with Neptune. So we're going to get one square on October 12th, then Mars will station retrograde on the 30th, move backwards, and we're going to get another square on November 19th. And then when in January Mars stations direct, we'll get a third square on March 14th, 2023. So it's an important topic. It's an important transit that will play out for a while. And the main question here is like, what are your ideals? And what is worth sacrificing for in your life, and what is not worth sacrificing for, and how can you be most authentic as you pursue those dreams and ideals? So before we even talk about that, let's kind of break it down even more, right? Mars is the planet of desire. Mars is the planet of raw power, ambition, sexuality. Mars represents independence. Mars represents things that ignite us, set us on fire, drive us. Neptune is ethereal. Neptune is as big as the ocean. It represents the world at large. It represents community. It represents ideals, like dreams and big things that are worth fighting for, right? Like Neptune, to me, I think of like Jeanne d'Arc, especially Mars and Neptune together. Like she had visions, she heard voices, right? I don't know if she had visions, or I feel like she heard voices, but I can't remember if there were like actual visions. Correct me if you know what actually was the story. But she was like, she had those higher callings, and she followed them, and she ended up sacrificing herself for it. So Mars and Neptune might be showing up in our life as like certain things that are calling us, and maybe questioning whether following them is worth the price and whether they are authentic. It's interesting because Mars squares Neptune right around the full moon in Aries, and full moon in Aries, I posted a video on that, is very like fiery and passionate and inspirational, but like things that we might be inspired by might be flawed somehow. And maybe it's okay for them to be flawed. Maybe it's about accepting our own mortality or imperfection, or the fact that it's impossible to be fully perfect or fully, get your dreams to the T and hit everything. So there might be a sense of like coming to terms with reality with this transit. So when these two are in a square, squares create tension, right? Like squares create some kind of frustration. Neptune is in the overcoming position, so it's calling us to follow the dream that is less about ourselves. It is calling us to sacrifice for something larger than ourselves. It is making us face our own illusions and delusions. So here Neptune is definitely more in control, and Neptune maybe is giving us a reality check. So some ways this can show up and play out in your life, and I will do like a quick run of the 12 signs. But some of the things, right, like you might get excited about something. You might get all fired up by the new project, the new idea, something magical, right? Like, but you really need to be careful, because something, you might perceive this new idea or ideal as all-consuming and important and the right thing, but in reality it might just be a mirage. So it's, I don't know, I'm like thinking of a relationship or a career, right? Or like a calling that you get super excited about, only to later realize that you haven't gotten all the information. So be careful around this time. Like, I wouldn't take any important risks. I would try to be slow and careful. Another thing that often comes with this transit is like low energy and feeling a bit lethargic and uncertain. So that might be like a preview of what Mars retrograde is going to about, just like having less of a desire to do things you normally do, and maybe being more inspired to do things that are spiritual and things that make your soul happy. So that's why like this could be tricky, because like it has both the power to deceive us, but it can also inspire us to follow things that are more soulful. So I think around this time, if you're feeling uninspired, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling like you don't have the energy or the courage, maybe it's your call to take a step back and not push harder, and like, be careful with yourself, be kind with yourself, because Mars retrograde is the time where you realize that things that you've been investing a lot of energy into are not necessarily the things that make you truly happy. So, topics of sacrifice could be significant around this time, right? Like where maybe you can get dissatisfied with how much you've been giving. And feel like you've been giving too much, and the other person maybe hasn't been reciprocating. Like have as honest conversations as you possibly can. Don't lean into like guilt tripping other people or manipulating them into understanding that you're dissatisfied with them. Learning from the experience is always a good thing, right? Like if you feel like you've been sacrificing and other people are not recognizing it, maybe the question is like, what can you learn from it? What is the lesson here? Even if you feel disillusioned and disappointed and frustrated with other people, remember that it's a shorter transit, and it's the transit that is ultimately not about you and your personal gains, but it's more about the collective and the larger good. So maybe it's okay to sacrifice things sometimes, but if that's all you do, then it's not good for the relationship. So it's about balance. I feel like even talking about Neptune gets really Neptunian and very like it kind of all blends together. But yeah, like topics of illusions, topics of idealism, and whether your ideals are real or not, whether things you've been pursuing are real or not, feeling dissatisfied, feeling low on energy. And this has the power to last, right? Like it's perfect on Wednesday, October 12th, but I would say that you feel it 3 days, well, actually even longer than that. We feel it pretty much most of the month because Mars is moving so slowly that it doesn't pass through. It's like, let's say it starts like approximately on October 8th, 9th, and then it lasts until mid-November because we get, or even end of November, because we get another Mars-Neptune square on November 19th. So this could be, because it's like a 3-part story, right? This might be the time when the problem gets introduced, some sense of like dissatisfaction, frustration, following wrong ideals, getting disillusioned, feeling like you are unable to reach some goal, feeling frustrated about some romantic element. This could be very literal, like sexual frustration too, right? Like because Mars is the sexual powers, and Neptune, maybe like your partner is lost in some problem, and like they're unable to satisfy you or something. Hopefully not. Hopefully everybody gets satisfied, but like that's part of Mars retrograde sometimes, that, you know, things that are normally pointing up might not be pointing up. But I hope we're all immune to it. If you're listening, if you're watching to this video, I'm like gonna do something and you're gonna be immune, and everything that needs to point up will be pointing up. I don't know how this went into that direction, but let me bring it back. So yeah, like, because it's the first one, this might be when the topics get introduced. And then on November 19th, we get the second hit, and maybe you see them clearly and you start to implement changes. And then the final one on March 14th is when you actually see the results and you understand the problem and you see how you have grown and you've changed. Look at what you can learn from it, right? Like if you feel disappointed, if you feel disillusioned, try to look at it from a perspective of like, what is the lesson here? Am I supposed to accept my own weaknesses? Am I supposed to accept my own imperfections, right? Like, is it about the good of the relationship? How can we both learn from it if it's two people? There might be drama coming from other people, as always. You know, like Neptune could be inner guilt, self-doubt, fears, or it could be another person kind of creating drama and making you the victim of things. Once again, be careful of like projection, be careful of, or if someone shows up in your life, there's some sort of lesson here. Feeling low on energy could be also a sign of like your health being more compromised. So don't overexert yourself. Don't try to work extra hard and push through these feelings, because it's better to slow down and try to allow the uncertainty. Watch out for escapist tendencies, or like guilt tripping or victimizing yourself, or like playing a victim could be also a challenge here. And then trying to escape the drama, the responsibility, and trying to just like numb yourself. Once again, it's better to approach it from a perspective of like, what can I learn from it? And if you've been feeling any of this already, please let me know in the comments below. Like I said, Neptune is very Neptunian and hard to put into words sometimes, but these are some of the some of the topics that might show up. So let's take a quick look, quick rundown through all 12 signs to see what this might be representing in your life. For Aries rising, Mars in the 3rd house is going to square Neptune in the 12th house. And Neptune in the 12th is perhaps you get inspired by some kind of dream or something that might be hard to explain or hard to understand. Like there might be some kind of self-defeating tendency that trickles down into your relationship with your siblings and neighbors. Watch out, just like be careful of following illusions and kind of defending them while maybe you don't have all the information fully. If you're feeling frustrated, this might also be kind of like a sense of feeling disappointed with your neighbors and siblings. Try to have an honest conversation, especially if you feel like you've been like sacrificing for others. Yeah, like be careful also just like giving the energy that you don't have for other people. And be careful of negative self-talk, because 3rd house is your communication, 12th house is self-defeating notions. So there might be some kind of like self-defeating circulating thoughts, and maybe you can address them. Great time for Aries risings to do yoga therapy, some kind of spiritual cleansing and healing. Let me know how this resonates in the comments below. For a Taurus rising, Mars in the 2nd house is going to square Neptune in the 11th house. You may feel dissatisfied with the progress you are making. You may feel dissatisfied with the friendships that you have, because Neptune in the 11th might have some kind of ideal of a friendship, ideal of success. Like, you know, if you're on social media and you want to have a page with 100,000 followers, but it's taking a really long time, there might be a sense of like being hard on yourself and not valuing yourself for the slower progress. So be careful there. There might be a sense of like getting enchanted by something and spending money on it. So I'd watch out for any like major investments around this time. Like maybe you get a desire, maybe you feel like you need to get a social media coach and you spend money on that, but then you feel dissatisfied. And issues with friendships or groups that you belong to, feeling like they don't quite understand you, they don't quite support you. And if that's the case, maybe it's your sign to have honest conversations with them or rethink people you associate with and bring new people in your life. Don't condemn your existing friends and friendships, because it's, you know, might be just a period, maybe a period of cooling down, and you will come back together again with those people. For Gemini rising, Mars in the 1st house is going to square Neptune in the 10th house. And here we have tension between Mars in the 1st and your physical vitality and your physical energy, and Neptune in the 10th, which is your professional ideals and goals. So you might be like taken by some kind of ideal that is not necessarily good for you, or you feel too tired, you feel like there's no time for your personal projects, and that results in a sense of frustration. Watch out for sacrificing yourself, because here there might be like a tendency to put your head on the altar of your career, and that's not necessarily worth it. I think this is also an invitation for Gemini risings to examine your professional tendencies and where maybe you need to release something, where are you sacrificing too much. And if you're feeling unsure about the professional direction or where you see yourself, where you want to go, slow down, take some time to meditate, take some time to like, I don't know, take a sound bath or an actual bath. Take it easy. For Cancer rising, we have Mars in the 12th house squaring Neptune in the 9th house. Neptune in the 9th house can get you inspired to travel, to learn something new, to escape into education, to escape into travel, to kind of like run away from the things you don't want to look at with Mars in the 12th house. I think Mars in the 12th is like wanting to transform, wanting to release, wanting to fight for things that are important, that are maybe spiritual. So watch out for like leaning too heavily into escapist tendencies and running away from your problems, or like, you know, you haven't graduated but you want to start a new class because this is glittery and this is exciting, but maybe you need to finish this one first. Believing false ideals or getting disappointed and disillusioned with the things that you've been hearing is a possibility too. Like, you know, if you are, for example, like in Russia and you're listening to news and what they're telling, there might be a sense of like dissatisfaction, disappointment with the lack of clarity, right? Like it's really hard to know what the truth is when you are in the middle of a conflict and the news obviously are not reporting all the truth. So pay attention to the news that you're hearing. Watch out following something and believing something as like the ultimate truth, because it's likely not. For Leo rising, we get Mars in the 11th squaring Neptune in the 8th. Neptune in the 8th might be encouraging you to like help people in need, give your money for some cause, invest into something, put your resources together. But you want to be really careful here, especially if it comes to like, if it's, you know, seems too good to be true. There might also be a sense of sacrificing too much for a friend and needing to examine your friendships and needing to maybe have honest conversations about the give and take dynamics in your friendships. It's okay to be a generous soul, and I think as a Leo rising, most Leo risings are quite generous, not all. I know one who's not, even though he believes he is, but nope. No sir. But anyways, it's not about me and my frustrations with someone I know. I actually don't know him that well, but there was a period in my life when that was happening a little bit. Anyways, I digress. So be careful of the unfairness in your life. I think Neptune being in your 8th house could be also a sign of you like spreading yourself too thin and doing too many things and trying to say yes to too many things. So this could be about prioritizing that and maybe making better financial decisions. I think your 2nd house is Virgo, so you likely make good financial decisions already, but maybe there's something that can be improved. For Virgo rising, we have Mars in the 10th house squaring Neptune in the 7th. And this to me smells like sacrificing your career or sacrificing your professional goals for the partnership, but also feeling dissatisfied with the partnership. And this could be both romantic or professional. There's definitely tension between your status, reputation, and your relationship. There might also be something like you find out something about your relationship, about your partner, that then affects your career. You want to do as much careful balancing and as much honest conversation, as many honest conversations as you possibly can. Don't let your romantic fears overcome you, right? Because there is also a chance with this specific example that what you're thinking or what you're fearing is not true. And be careful making some kind of like major decisions at this time, all of this month, but like be careful committing to things, let's say, and like sacrificing your dreams for what your partner dreams about. For Libra rising, we have Mars in the 9th house squaring Neptune in the 6th house. Neptune in the 6th could be just a sign of having to do a lot of work, having to deal with some kind of like health issue, possibly, maybe even as simple as like feeling lethargic, feeling low on energy, and feeling that that's like limiting your progress. Maybe it's also like, you know, Mars in the 9th house, you want to pursue these new things, you want to start new projects, but Neptune in the 6th is saying that like, well, but first you need to do A, B, C, D. And then you feel frustrated because there's all these things, and how are you going to reach your goals? How are you going to reach your dreams? Feeling disappointed with your professional relationships, uncertain about the projects you're pursuing, uncertain about the direction you're taking are also some possibilities. And watch out for self-sacrifice and like pushing yourself too much. For Scorpio rising, Mars in the 8th house is going to square Neptune in the 5th house. And here, like, you are sacrificing or having some kind of issue related to children, maybe to resources you share with other people, because, you know, Mars in the 8th might want to like pay off a debt, take on a loan, take on a mortgage, maybe free yourself from like any dependencies. And Neptune in the 5th house is saying, ta-da, now you're pregnant, so you can't pay off a debt. Or it's saying, here's your partner, he wants this or she wants that, and you're unable to do things that you want to do. So it might be easy to miscommunicate with your partner or misunderstand things, or even get excited about something that is not quite like real and solid financially or romantically. So watch out for any major investments and be kind of careful around this time. For Sag rising, Mars in the 7th house is going to square Neptune in the 4th. And here you're dealing with tension between your house of home and family and your romantic or business partnership. I'm seeing this as possibly like Neptune in the 4th, your family needs you, or your family relationship becomes kind of blurry and unclear, and maybe you give too much to your family, or maybe your partner does that, and that affects your relationship. I wonder, you know, this might be like a larger theme of the upcoming retrograde. What is your relationship like with your family? And how does your family affect your romantic relationship? Or how does your living situation affect your business or professional partnership? Just try to maybe clarify your dynamics and your boundaries with your family as much as you possibly can, so that it doesn't make your partner feel neglected or that it doesn't affect your relationship too much. For Capricorn rising, Mars in the 6th house is going to square Neptune in the 3rd house. Here you might experience a sense of like confusion related to siblings, neighbors, your immediate environment affecting your work. Maybe, you know, a sibling needs your attention, they're leaning too heavily on you, and that's affecting your plans, and maybe you feel frustrated. You may feel disappointed in your relationship with them. There might be confusion while communicating. Maybe something is not being said and you're like tiptoeing around, and like getting frustrated is a possibility here, but that could also be like frustration as a result of you not expressing things honestly. So try to be as honest as you possibly can, and watch out for sacrificing yourself or sacrificing your needs for those of others. For Aqua rising, Mars in the 5th house is going to square Neptune in the 2nd house. And somehow your financial situation is preventing you from having all the fun that you would like. So Neptune in the 2nd could be very generous with money. Maybe you are spending money on other people. Maybe you're helping them financially. But then as a result, you're not allowing enough resources for yourself. So here there might be like, and you know, the upcoming topic of Mars being retrograde in your 5th house, like how much space, how many resources, how, you know, do you have to enjoy yourself? Because like 5th house is also like the house of romance, and it's the house of children, and maybe you are being too supportive of them. Maybe you're like helping your child too much or paying for your partner too much, and as a result you're feeling dissatisfied and you're feeling frustrated. Maybe you feel like they don't value you enough, and maybe you don't mind helping them, but you would appreciate a thank you once in a while. So have honest conversations, and hopefully the situation doesn't turn sour. Finally, for Pisces rising, Mars in the 4th house is going to square Neptune in the 1st house. And here we have a conflict between, like, Neptune in the 1st, I feel like might make you sacrifice too much of your personal goals, of your personal time and your personal space for your family or for the needs of those you love. Maybe even you know, you kind of like put your needs second and you spend all the time helping your family move, but then you end up feeling frustrated. So watch out for sacrificing yourself. Watch out for miscommunications with family members. Try to speak up. Try to be as honest as you possibly can. And hopefully things will work out. Like, and you know, if you're feeling low on energy, if you're feeling unsure where you want to live or how you want to proceed with things, that's okay. The fog will eventually clear. I hope this video resonated. I hope your month is going well. There is some really lovely aspects that are helping us deal, I think, with more foggy aspects like this one. So stay safe, relax as much as you can, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.